Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're going way off the beaten path into a video game called Finnish Cottage Simulator.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything quite like this.
Me neither. But you guys sent us a ton of stuff about it. We've got articles, even a game guide.
Some travel brochures, too, right?
Yeah, those too. So we're going to try to figure this whole thing out, like how a video game can capture what it's like to escape to a Finnish cottage in the middle of nowhere.
It's a pretty wild idea when you think about it, combining virtual reality with, well, Finnish culture.
All right, so first things first. What is Finnish Cottage Simulator? I'm guessing it's not your typical action-packed game, right?
You're right about that. One of these articles, pasted text, says it lets you basically live the life of someone at a Finnish summer cottage. They call it a moki.
Moki. Okay, I'll try to remember that. So what do you actually do in the game?
Well, it's interesting because it's not about challenges or anything. It's all about relaxation and leisure.
So, like, the opposite of most video games.
Pretty much. And that's actually part of a bigger trend. More and more people want games that are calming, you know? A way to escape from everyday stress.
I can definitely see the appeal in that.
Yeah.
Especially with how hectic things can get. Now, some of the activities you can do in this game, they really jumped out at me, like visiting a sauna.
Oh, yeah. Saunas are huge in Finland.
Huge how?
Well, this pasted text article, it says there are something like 3.3 million saunas in Finland, and there are only 5.5 million people in the whole country.
Wow, so basically everyone has their own sauna. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I guess it's more than just sitting in a hot room, right?
Definitely not. It's a whole tradition, really important to Finnish culture. And there are all these different types of saunas, different rituals.
Huh. So there's a lot more to it than I thought.
Huh.
Okay, what else can you do in the game besides sauna stuff?
Well, there's grilling outdoors, having a beer, playing games with people.
That does sound pretty Finnish now that you mention it.
It is. And pasted text really emphasizes that how all these activities are a big part of Finnish life. And then you can even explore the nature around your cottage, forests, lakes.
Okay, that's where they had me hooked. I mean, who wouldn't want to wander around a peaceful Finnish forest, even if it's virtual?
And that brings us back to the muki itself. It's more than just a building, you see.
How so?
It's like this symbol, this deep part of Finnish culture, this one source, Finnish holiday homes. It says it represents this connection to nature, a place to get away from the city, to unwind.
So it's almost like a retreat, mentally and physically.
Exactly. And what I find really fascinating is how both the game and the actual murky experience, they're all about this desire for a simpler life, you know, more peaceful, less stress.
That makes a lot of sense, especially with everything we've been talking about. And the game seems to be packed with Finnish traditions, too, right? I mean, beyond the sauna stuff, we saw something about midsummer festivals.
Oh, yeah. Bonfires, special foods, the whole 9 yards. I'm sure the game incorporates a lot of that.
Yeah, I bet it does. It's almost like more than just a game at that point. It's like a way to learn about another culture.
Exactly. A virtual vacation with a little education mixed in.
So speaking of specifics, I actually took a look at this Finnish Cottage Simulator guide and map. There's an actual map of the game world, which is cool. And get this, there's a tip about watching out for wasps.
Wasps? Seriously?
Yep. Apparently, you can even make money in the game by selling homemade kilju, I think it's called.
Kilju.
Yeah, it's some kind of Finnish drink. Oh, and the best part, there's an achievement in the game for getting killed by wasps.
No way. They really thought of everything. It makes you wonder, though. What parts of the gameplay do you think would stand out the most to someone playing it? All those cultural details? The feeling of actually being there?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, could a game really capture the feeling of being in a Finnish cottage?
That's tough to say without trying it right. But from everything we've seen, it looks like the developers really tried to make the experience authentic. All those details, the visuals, the sounds, it's all meant to transport you to that world.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it. But I'm curious, what about you? What parts of Finnish culture would you want to see in the game? If they haven't already included them, I mean.
That's a good question. You know, I think it'd be really interesting if they explored the idea of sisu. It's this Finnish word that, well, it's hard to translate directly, but it's about resilience, determination, grit, that ability to push through tough times.
So even though the game's about relaxing and all, they could add in some challenges that really test your sisu.
Exactly. It would add a whole other layer to the game. And it fits with what we know about Finnish culture, right? That strength and resilience.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Man, this whole deep dive has been fascinating. I'm already picturing myself chilling out in a mucky, surrounded by nature with a sauna.
Hmm.
Maybe some Kilju.
Me too. It shows how powerful games can be, right?
Yeah,
They can take us to these different worlds, introduce us to new cultures, even inspire us to live differently.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of exploring, don't forget to check out our other deep dives on this channel. We've got a ton of awesome topics just waiting to be uncovered. But let's get back to Finnish Cottage Simulator. So we talked about how realistic the game tries to be. But do you think it actually gets the feeling right? Like the actual feeling of being in a Finnish cottage?
That's a really good question. I mean, it's hard to say for sure without actually being there, right? But based on what we've seen in these articles and the game guide, it seems like the developers put a lot of effort into capturing the
The
atmosphere.
atmosphere, yeah. It's got
Yeah.
to be more than just the visuals.
Exactly. It's the sounds, the activities, even little details that make you feel like you're really there.
Like what kind of details?
Well, for example, the way the light changes throughout the day, or the sounds of the birds singing in the forest, even the way the wind blows through the trees. It all adds up to create a really immersive experience.
I can see that. And what about the activities? Do you think they capture the essence of Finnish cottage life?
I think so, yeah. I mean, they've got everything from chopping wood to fishing to picking berries, and you can even go for a swim in the lake or relax in the sauna.
That does sound pretty relaxing. I'm starting to get the appeal of this game.
Yeah, me too. It's not about winning or losing. It's about slowing down and enjoying the simple things in life.
That's a nice change of pace for most games, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good reminder that sometimes it's okay to just relax and do nothing.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about relaxing, it's about escaping from something too, all that stress and noise of everyday life.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a big part of what makes Finnish Cottage Simulator so appealing. It gives you this digital space to just unwind, to disconnect for a while.
Right, exactly. And Paste to Text even talks about how the game is part of this slow gaming trend. It's not about instant rewards or constant action.
So it's more about taking your time, really getting into the experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's about savoring those little moments. Chopping wood, fishing, even just watching the sunset.
That sounds pretty amazing, actually. It's like a digital detox.
Kind of, yeah. But what's really cool is how tied into real Finnish culture this game is. It makes you wonder if playing it makes people want to learn more about Finland in general.
Oh, I bet it does. I mean, you're virtually doing all these things that are part of Finnish tradition. Chopping wood for the sauna, fishing in a lake,
Yeah.
even making that Kilju stuff.
Yeah, and it's not just random either. Like the Kilju thing, it's a nod to that whole idea of being resourceful, self-sufficient.
Right, because the mucky lifestyle is all about living simply, being connected to nature.
Exactly. And that often means making do with what you have, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny, though, how even Finnish holiday homes, this article about real cottages, it talks about how the mucky is also a place for creativity, for expressing yourself.
But that's interesting. So do you see any of that in the game?
Well, I was thinking about how you can customize your cottage in the game, like decorate the interior, arrange the furniture. It's not much, but it lets you kind of put your own stamp on the place.
That's a good point. It's like a form of self-expression, even if it's digital. We've been talking a lot about how the game lets you escape and be alone. But what about the social aspect? I know you can invite friends to your virtual mucky, right?
Yeah, you can. And that actually ties into the real-life Moki experience, too.
Yeah.
Because in Finland, going to a mucky is often a family thing or something you do with friends. It's about spending time together, making memories.
So it's not just about solitary escape then. It's about connecting with people, too.
Exactly. And I think that's a really powerful message, especially nowadays when everyone's so busy and disconnected. Finnish Cottage Simulator is like a reminder that it's important to just hang out with people you care about, whether it's in the real world or in a video game.
I love that. It's like a virtual campfire, bringing people together.
And remember that Finnish word we talked about earlier, sisu. Do you think they could do more with that in the game?
Oh, totally. Like imagine if there were challenges in the game that really tested your sisu.
Like what kind of challenges?
Well, maybe a storm hits and damages your mucky. Or you run out of supplies and have to figure out how to survive.
So the game could be about overcoming obstacles, not just relaxing.
Right. And the idea of sisu could help you get through those tough times. It would add this whole other dimension to the game.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. It's like teaching people about Finnish culture while they're playing.
Exactly. And it ties into that theme of resilience, that inner strength that's so important in Finnish culture.
Man, this deep dive is blowing my mind. I'm learning so much about Finland just from talking about this game.
Me too. It just shows how much potential games have, right? To teach us about different cultures, different ways of life.
And to make us think about our own lives, too. Like how we can be more resilient, more connected to nature, more in touch with what really matters.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. And before we move on, I want to remind everyone to check out our other deep dives on this channel.
Yes. We have tons of amazing videos exploring all sorts of fascinating topics.
So if you're enjoying this journey into Finnish Cottage Simulator and Finnish culture, you'll definitely want to check those out.
But let's get back to the game itself. One thing that struck me while reading pasted text was how much emphasis they put on the beauty of the Finnish landscape. All those forests, lakes, wide open
Oh,
skies.
yeah. It's supposed to be absolutely breathtaking. And I think the game does a really good job of capturing that. All those visual details, the way the light changes throughout the day.
It sounds like they really went all out to make it feel real.
They did. And that connection to nature, it seems to be at the heart of both the game and the real-life mucky experience.
Absolutely. It's about appreciating the simplicity and serenity of the natural world, getting away from all the noise and distractions of modern life.
Right. It's about reconnecting with something bigger than ourselves. And I think that message really resonates with people today, especially those who are feeling overwhelmed by the digital age.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that peace and tranquility can be found in the simplest of things. A walk in the woods, a moment of stillness by a lake, even just looking up at the stars on a clear night.
That's beautifully put. And I think Finnish Cottage Simulator captures that sense of tranquility perfectly. It lets players experience that peace and connection with nature, even if it's just through a digital window.
And that's a pretty amazing feat when you think about it. In a world that's so dominated by technology, it's remarkable that a game can evoke such a genuine sense of connection to nature.
It really is. And you know, as we've been discussing the game and its connection to Finnish culture, there's something I've been thinking about.
What's that?
Well, we've talked about all the activities, the traditions, the values, but we haven't really touched on the aesthetics.
Oh, interesting. You mean like the look and feel of the game?
Exactly. I'm curious about how the game's visual design reflects Finnish design principles. From what I've seen, it's very clean and minimalist. Lots of natural materials and earthy tones.
That's a good observation. And it's probably intentional, right? I mean, Finnish design is known for its simplicity, its functionality, its harmony with nature.
Right. They often use materials like wood and stone, and their designs tend to be very understated.
So it's not just about making the game look pretty, it's about reflecting Finnish culture through the design itself.
Exactly. It's about creating an experience that's authentic on every level.
That's really impressive. It's like the developers have thought of everything. No wonder Finnish Cottage Simulator has become so popular.
I know, right? It just shows how powerful games can be. They can entertain us, educate us, inspire us, and even promote cultural understanding.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But you know, this whole conversation has made me realize something. It's not just about the game itself. It's about the feelings it evokes, the conversations it sparks.
What do you mean?
Well, we've been talking about Finnish Cottage Simulator for a while now, and it's obviously more than just a game to us. It's a jumping-off point for all these deeper discussions.
About Finnish culture, the importance of simplicity, our connection to nature.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that the best games can make us think about our own lives and the values that we hold dear.
I completely agree. It's like we started with a video game and ended up exploring all these fascinating ideas.
And that just shows the power of curiosity, right?
Yeah.
When we allow ourselves to be curious, we open ourselves up to a whole world of knowledge and experience.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But speaking of experiences, maybe it's time we shift gears a bit and explore a different side of Finnish Cottage Simulator.
Okay, what do you have in mind?
Well, we've talked about the cultural side, the design, the psychology, but what about the gameplay itself?
Oh, good point. We haven't really gotten into the nitty-gritty of what it's like to actually play the game.
Right. So what are some of the gameplay elements that you think stand out?
Well, one thing that jumped out at me was this emphasis on resource management. Like, you have to collect wood, water, food,
Yeah.
all those things you need to survive in a cottage.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that too. It's subtle, but it's a clever way to teach players about self-sufficiency and living in balance with nature.
It's like they're sneaking in a lesson about sustainability without being preachy about it.
Exactly. And it's all integrated into the gameplay, so it feels natural and engaging.
And speaking of engaging, there's also a crafting system, right?
Yes. You can craft all sorts of things, from tools and furniture to food and drinks.
Again, it all ties back to those themes of resourcefulness, and self-sufficiency. It's like the developers put a lot of thought into making sure the gameplay is both fun and meaningful.
They definitely did. And I think that's one of the reasons why Finnish Cottage Simulator has resonated so deeply with players. It's a game that offers more than just escapism. It's a chance to connect with nature, explore another culture, and even learn something about yourself along the way.
It's like a digital journey of self-discovery.
Exactly. And, all this talk about resource management and crafting has got me thinking about another aspect of the game, the economy.
The economy.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how players can earn money by selling Killju, but I'm curious about the game's economic system in general. Does it feel realistic? Does it add another layer of challenge to the gameplay?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that.
Well, from what I've gathered, it seems pretty straightforward. You earn money by completing tasks, selling items, things like that. It's not super complex, but it does force you to think strategically.
So it's not like a hardcore economic simulation. It's more about adding a touch of realism to the experience.
Right. It's about finding a balance between your needs and your resources,
Huh.
which, in a way, is a reflection of the Moki lifestyle itself, wouldn't you say?
Totally. It's about living simply, appreciating what you have, and making the most of what's available to you.
And it's amazing how all these different elements of the game, the gameplay, the design, the economy, they all connect back to this core philosophy of the Moki lifestyle.
It's like the game is a microcosm of Finnish culture, in a way.
Exactly. And it shows the incredible care and attention that the developers put into creating this truly authentic and immersive experience.
I'm seriously blown away by this game. It's so much more than I expected.
Me too. It's a testament to the power of games to not only entertain us, but to also educate us, inspire us, and even promote cultural understanding.
Well said. And speaking of exploration, we have so many other deep dives waiting for you on this channel.
Yes. If you're enjoying this journey into Finnish culture and the world of Finnish Cottage Simulator, you'll definitely want to check those out.
But before we get too sidetracked, let's dive back into the psychology behind the game's appeal. We talk about the desire for peace, the sense of adventure, the need for connection. But I think there's another element at play here too.
What's that?
Nostalgia. I think the game taps into this longing for a simpler time. A time when life was slower, people were more connected to nature and each other.
It's like a digital window into an idealized past, a past that many of us never actually experience, but somehow feel drawn to.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with a little nostalgia.
Not at all. I think it can be a positive force. It reminds us of the things that truly matter. It inspires us to create more meaningful experiences in our own lives.
I agree. And Finnish Cottage Simulator does a great job of harnessing that nostalgia in a positive way.
It's not about dwelling on the past, it's about drawing inspiration from it, using it to create a better present.
And it's about finding those timeless values that have always been important to human happiness.
Well said. And I think that's one of the things that makes Finnish Cottage Simulator so special. It reminds us of what truly matters in life.
And it does so in a way that's entertaining, engaging, and thought-provoking.
It's definitely a game that sticks with you.
This whole conversation has been incredibly insightful. It's given me a whole new understanding of the game and its potential.
Me too. It's amazing what you can discover when you really delve into something.
And it's a reminder that games can be so much more than just entertainment. They can be tools for learning, reflection, personal growth.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of growth, I think it's time we shift our focus to another fascinating aspect of Finnish Cottage Simulator.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's on your mind?
Well, we've talked about the cultural and psychological aspects of the game, but what about its potential for educational and therapeutic applications?
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't really thought about that.
Well, think about it. The slow pace, the emphasis on nature, the simple activities, it all has a very calming effect.
It's like a form of digital meditation almost.
Exactly. And I think it could be really beneficial for people who are stressed out or dealing with anxiety or even burnout.
I can see that. It's a safe, controlled environment where you can escape from all the pressures of everyday life.
And it's not just about relaxation either. I think the game could also be used to promote creativity and problem-solving skills.
How so?
Well, the crafting system, the resource management challenges, the open-ended gameplay, it all encourages you to think creatively, to experiment, to find solutions to problems.
Like a digital sandbox for the mind.
Exactly. And I think that can be incredibly empowering for people. It gives them a chance to tap into their potential.
That's really cool. It's like the game is not just entertaining, it's actually helping people grow and
And
develop.
that's one of the most exciting things about games, right? They have this incredible potential to be used for educational and therapeutic purposes.
And Finnish Cottage Simulator seems like the perfect example of that. It can be enjoyed for pure fun, but it can also be a tool for personal growth and well-being.
Absolutely. And I think we're only just beginning to explore the possibilities of games in this space.
As you're talking, I'm wondering if there are any social or cultural benefits to playing this game as well. We've focused a lot on the individual benefits, but could it also have a positive impact on society as a whole?
That's a great question. I mean, we've already talked about how the game promotes cultural understanding by accurately portraying Finnish traditions and values, but could it go even further?
Like, could it help people connect with other cultures in a more meaningful way? Maybe even foster empathy and break down stereotypes.
I think it absolutely could. Imagine if the game included interactive elements that taught players about Finnish history, language, or mythology, or maybe virtual interactions with Finnish characters who could share their stories and perspectives.
That would be amazing. It would be like a virtual exchange program, allowing players to experience another culture firsthand.
Exactly. And I think that could have a huge impact in terms of promoting cross-cultural understanding and breaking down
It
barriers.
would be like building bridges between cultures through a video game.
Beautifully put. And that's something we desperately need in today's world, where divisions between cultures seem to be growing wider and wider.
I couldn't agree more. It's exciting to think that games like Finnish Cottage Simulator could play a role in bridging those divides and fostering greater empathy and understanding between people from different backgrounds.
It really speaks to the power of games, doesn't it? They can be more than just entertainment. They can be powerful tools for social change.
And this conversation has really opened my eyes to that potential.
Mine too. It's inspiring to think that something as simple as a video game can have such a profound impact on the world.
Absolutely. And I think it's a reminder that we should never underestimate the power of play, creativity, and imagination.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And speaking of creativity, I think it's time we shifted gears a bit and explored another aspect of Finnish Cottage Simulator that we haven't talked about yet, the modding community.
Ah, yes, the modding community. Now we're talking.
It's a whole world unto itself, and it really speaks to the open-ended nature of the game and the creativity of its players.
For those who might not be familiar, what exactly is modding?
Modding basically means modifying or adding to the game's content using custom-created tools and resources.
So it's like players taking the game and making it their own.
Exactly. And the modding community for Finnish Cottage Simulator is incredibly active. They're constantly creating new content, custom items, decorations, gameplay features, even entire expansions to the game world.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like the game is constantly evolving and expanding thanks to the creativity of its players.
It really is. And I think it speaks to the power of games as platforms for creativity and collaboration.
It's like a digital ecosystem where the game is the foundation and the players are the ones who shape the experience.
Beautifully put. And that's one of the things that makes modding communities so fascinating. They're spaces where people can come together, share their ideas, and collaborate on projects that push the boundaries of what's possible in the game world.
It's like a digital manifestation of that communal spirit we were talking about earlier, that sense of shared experience and collaboration that's so central to the mucky lifestyle.
Exactly. It's about coming together, sharing skills and resources, and creating something new and exciting.
And it really highlights the passion and dedication of the Finnish Cottage Simulator community.
I couldn't agree more. It's a reminder that games can be so much more than just entertainment. They can be platforms for creativity, community, and even personal growth.
This whole deep dive has really opened my eyes to how rich and layered the Finnish Cottage Simulator experience is.
Me too. It's been an incredible journey of discovery.
And it's a reminder that there's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to appreciate, even in something as seemingly simple as a video game.
Absolutely. That's what makes life so interesting. There's always something new waiting to be discovered, something new to learn, something new to experience.
This whole conversation has really sparked a lot of ideas in me. It's a testament to the power of games to not only entertain us, but to inspire us, educate us, and connect us.
I completely agree. And that's definitely something worth celebrating.
Absolutely. And speaking of celebrating, I think it's time for us to take a short break. We'll be back soon for the final part of our deep dive into Finnish Cottage Simulator.
Sounds good to me. I'm looking forward to hearing what other insights you have to share.
Well, stay tuned. We'll be back shortly to wrap up our exploration of this fascinating game and all that it has to offer. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into Finnish Cottage Simulator. We've covered so much ground already, it's hard to believe we're only just finishing up.
I know, right? We've gone from the culture to the psychology to the modding scene.
And yet there's still one big question that's been bugging me.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we've talked about how well the game portrays Finnish culture and traditions, but does it really capture what the Mookie lifestyle is actually like?
That's a tough one. I mean, can a virtual experience ever truly replace being there? In a real cottage surrounded by nature?
Exactly. So how close does the game get?
Well, I gotta say, it does an amazing job with the visuals and sounds. Like the forest, the crackling fire in the sauna, the waves on the lake. It's all so realistic.
And you're doing all these activities that people do at a Mookie, too.
Mm.
Chopping wood, fishing, picking berries.
Right. But there's something different about doing it in real life, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
there's a realness to it, a sense of being connected to the environment.
And you never know what's going to happen in real life either. The weather could change. You might run out of supplies.
It's those unexpected challenges that make it an adventure, right?
Exactly. That sense of self-reliance, of figuring things out on your own, that's hard to replicate in a video game.
So the game gives you a taste of the Mookie lifestyle, but it's not the same as actually being there.
I think that's fair to say, but I also think that's okay. It's not meant to replace the real thing.
Yeah, more like a starting point, right?
Exactly. It might be enough for some people. They get that peace and quiet they're looking for, but for others, it might spark something.
Like a desire to actually go to Finland and experience a real Mookie.
I can definitely see that. It's like the game opens a door to a whole new world, and it might inspire people to step through that door and explore it for themselves.
I love that idea. It's not just about escaping into a digital world. It's about connecting with something real.
Absolutely. And it shows how games can be more than just entertainment. They can be a springboard to something bigger.
Speaking of real, though, we've talked a lot about the good sides of the Mookie lifestyle. But are there any downsides?
Oh, for sure. It's not always idyllic. You might feel isolated. There might not be a lot of modern conveniences.
And that whole self-sufficiency thing can be tough, too.
Right. I mean, the game makes it look pretty easy. But in real life, chopping wood and hauling water can be hard work.
So the game romanticizes the experience a bit. Makes it seem a little easier than it really is.
Maybe a little. But I think that's part of the appeal, too. It's a simplified, idealized version of the Mookie life, free from all the stress and complications of our everyday world.
I get it. It's like this perfect escape, even if it's not 100% realistic.
Exactly. And sometimes that's all we need, right? A break from reality, a chance to reconnect with what's important.
Man, this deep dive has really given me a lot to think about. It's made me appreciate both the game and the real-life Mookie lifestyle in a whole new way.
Me too. It's been a fascinating journey.
It just goes to show there's always something new to learn, something new to explore, something new to experience, whether it's in the virtual world or the real world.
Couldn't agree more. And I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Absolutely. Well, to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive into Finnish Cottage Simulator. We hope you learned something new and maybe even got inspired to explore a little bit more of the world around you.
And don't forget to check out our other videos for more fascinating deep dives into all sorts of topics.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep playing.